Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Unpacking with Sarah. Today, we're going to talk about the stories that we tell ourselves. This is an extension of our flexible thinking session, which is session 6. I'm really excited to be here with you today as we talk about how our brain filters information. So, my frontal cortex is in the job of being able to say, or being able to filter all the information that comes in based on my past experiences, based on my philosophies, and the belief systems that have been growing within me before I even knew how to think. Yes, the stories that we tell ourselves are heavily influenced by the belief patterns that we've developed since we were itty bitty, based on our childhood experiences, and then based on how we have shifted and changed those belief patterns and the way that we see the world as we've aged. And again, this is highly based on our own worldview and the experiential expertise that we have. So, for example, I was born and raised in the Mormon church. And so a lot of the things that I experienced were based on the filter that Mormonism um, put into my worldview. As an adult, I have since left the Mormon church, which has heavily influenced the way that I view and see the world. I'm a lot more cautious of anything that claims that they have 100% of the truth. I've practiced over the last several years since leaving the Mormon church in being a lot more flexible in my thinking, about worrying less about who's right and who's wrong and what's true and what's false, and looking at things more on the spectrum and recognizing that there's usually truth in every story, there's usually falsehood in every story, and I recognize that all things exist on a spectrum now. Why this is so important for you, especially in relationships, is we've got to try and stick with facts. So, for example, if I see somebody walking down the sidewalk and I can see that they have a look on their face, and I'm like, hey, I know you, hello, and they don't make any response, or maybe they look up and then they look back down and they keep walking, the story that I might tell myself is they saw me, they ignored me, and they're mad at me. But I have no reality to base that pattern of thinking in. Maybe they're so focused on something and they looked up and didn't see me and kept on walking. I don't know. But the story I'm telling myself is they saw me, they are mad at me, and they ignored me. So, what I really need to do is check in with the stories that I'm telling myself. So, for example, if my husband comes home late and I'm furious with him and I tell him, you're late because you were maybe flirting with the nurses at work, which my husband's super friendly. So, he's not actually flirting, he's just overly friendly sometimes, and it can be seen as that way. And so, I need to be able to check in with myself and with my partner with that preface of the story I'm telling myself, or the way that I'm perceiving or experiencing this moment is that. And then I fill in the blanks with you were late because you were engaged in something that I feel might be inappropriate. That story, you might be engaged in something that I feel is inappropriate, is based on my own belief system and my own mild paranoia or neuroses, which is normal for all of us to have, and not necessarily in reality. This is also where I have to learn to trust that the story the other person is telling me, the reasons that they are giving me, is true until there's a consistent pattern to say otherwise. My husband might say, oh, the reason I'm late is because I went to the waiting room and played my guitar for the patients at the hospital, which he does frequently. I have no reason to disbelieve that other than my own paranoia or the story that I may have told myself about his whereabouts otherwise. This is why it is so important for us to check in with ourselves and be honest with ourselves about, am I telling myself something that I don't have evidence for? Now, the evidence is back to that person on the sidewalk. They were walking on the sidewalk. They were looking down. They looked up. They looked down. They kept walking. I hollered their name. I waved. I might want to call that person and say, "Hey, I saw you on the sidewalk today. I to you. Did you see me?" Or is everything okay? I saw you, I called to you, you didn't respond. I'm just checking in to make sure, is everything okay? And I want to really open myself up to accept that whatever the other person is telling me is probably true, unless that person has a consistent pattern of being dishonest. And we know that based on reality based thinking. Okay, now this might be where I saw a text message from so and so, and it was soliciting you for relationships that are outside the boundary of our relationship. Again, I'm not going to jump immediately to the conclusion, oh, that person is betraying me. Rather, I'm going to say, hey, I looked on your phone. I saw this text message. And the story I'm telling myself is there's a relationship here that shouldn't be here based on such and such a statement. Now, this is very difficult to do. Very, very difficult to do. Being honest with ourselves is usually harder than being honest with other people. But one of the things that I found is that the more honest I'm able to be with myself, the more trustworthy I am for everybody else. Good luck to you. I hope that this makes sense. In our flexibility of thinking, we're going to give other people the benefit of the doubt, and we're going to check in and discover, am I being honest with myself? As we do that, we're going to find that we function better in all areas of our lives. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye.